How Long by Babyface here on Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Our guest today, Terry O'Neill, President of the National Organization for Women, and Lynn Paltrow, Founder and Executive Director of National Advocates for Pregnant Women. Lynn, I'd like you to talk more about the Utah case. Again, summarize what it says, and then it is not alone in this country, Utah, in passing laws that have this kind of effect on pregnant women or considering laws, and I'd like you to go through them.
Okay. Well, the Utah law was ostensibly passed in response to a particular event, and that's often how anti-choice and fetal rights legislation gets passed, under the guise of we're just doing this little thing. And this little thing involved a 17-year-old girl who was pregnant, whose boyfriend told her he would leave her if she continued to term. And in some act of absolute desperation, she apparently hired somebody to beat her up, to cause her to lose the pregnancy. She survived, the baby survived. They arrested both the young man who beat her up and the young woman. The young man was charged with attempted feticide, and so was she. But when they realized that they really couldn't apply the attempted feticide law to the girl herself, so outraged were they that they couldn't lock up a 17-year-old for 15 or more years, that they passed a law that purports to outlaw self-abortions. First of all, you know, for people who claim to pass laws to promote a culture of life, it's hard to imagine that when they don't value the life of, also the life of this young woman. Anybody who is so desperate as to invite violence against herself, and she could have died from the beating, to think that a statute making that behavior a crime is going to deter such desperate behavior is pretty crazy to begin with, and lacking in any common sense about if you really want to value fetal life and maternal life, this is certainly not the way to do it. One of the things the law reveals is that for many, many years, those groups who've been trying to overturn Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court decision recognizing the right to choose abortion, have argued that if Roe is overturned, don't worry, only the doctors are going to go to jail, not the women who, in seeking to control their reproductive lives, have abortions. Well, Utah has just lifted the veil on that, making very clear that women themselves will go to jail, and for at least 15 years, and life in some circumstances. But even beyond that, the law is written so broadly that it applies to any behavior a woman engages in, knowingly, recklessly. And, you know, who gets to decide if what you're doing is reckless is the arresting officer and the local prosecutor, not you, your heart, your minister, those people, and put you in jail. So a woman who is unable to leave a batterer could be charged. Women who, in Iowa, they don't even have a law like this on the books, but a young woman, after having a terrible argument with her husband from whom she was separated, got off the phone and went to go downstairs to see her children and fell down the stairs. She went to the hospital out of concern about her baby, got there, was really upset, hysterical, worried, and they started questioning her. And what they decided was her fall down the stairs was attempted feticide. And they arrested her and kept her in jail for several days until the Iowa county attorney decided that their unprecedented and, frankly, illegal interpretation of the law couldn't be applied to her, but only because she was in her second trimester and not her third trimester. So I think people, when we give examples of women being arrested for staying with a batterer, people think these are slippery slope craziness. But we keep seeing cases like this. In fact, Utah in 2004 arrested a woman who had given birth to twins, one of whom was stillborn, and they charged her with murder because she had refused a C-section 2 weeks earlier. And the theory was her refusal of cesarean surgery constituted murder. So right now there's a law that's been passed by both houses in Utah that would make miscarriages and stillbirths, because it applies to pregnant women from the moment they conceive. One really interesting thing that people need to think about is that people know that if a woman gives birth and then breastfeeds, it's likely to continue the time where she won't become pregnant again while she's breastfeeding. And apparently one theory about why that works is that the hormones, breastfeeding affects the body so that the fertilized egg can implant. That's an abortion. that self-abortion. So if the state wants to set up a mechanism for policing pregnant women, Utah has done a very good job.
Louisiana?
Well, not Louisiana, but Mississippi. We look across the states. We see that our government is in deadlock about passing health insurance for people, health care reform for millions of people who need it. But state legislators are hard at work, making it harder for pregnant women to access the health care they need and more likely for them and their health care providers to go to jail. In Mississippi, there was a bill proposed to criminalize certain kinds of midwifery. The problem with that is, as we saw after Hurricane Katrina and after we saw in Haiti, that if your hospital shut down, you need people who know how to deliver babies without electronic fetal monitors and surgical theaters and even epidurals. So you really don't want to be making it a crime for certain kind of midwives to practice. But if a woman in a disaster area can't access birth services, she also probably can't access abortion services. And we know if she took measures into her own hands in Utah, she could go to jail for life. In Nebraska, legislators, in the name of protecting the unborn from pain, argue that fetuses after 20 weeks experience pain, and their response to that is to outlaw all second trimester, to ban all third trimester abortions, and to put the doctors who perform them in jail, even though to the women who need them they are heroes.